Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Chiranjit Mishra. Welcome to today's news today session. There are 5 main news and 10 quick updates. Let's go through the headlines first. The first main news is related to the increase in the strength of the Supreme Court judges. So the Union Cabinet has approved a government bill, and when it is passed, the strength of the Supreme Court will increase. Currently, it's 33 judges, it will become 37, excluding the CGI. Next is emergency credit line guarantee scheme called ECLGS 5.0. So this is the fifth version of such a credit line guarantee scheme. The first was initiated during the COVID crisis. Okay, this is just for those MSME sectors which are suffering because of the Middle East crisis, along with the airline sector. It is the only non-MSME sector which is going to get credit under this scheme. Next is public interest litigation, and this has been misused as pointed out by the Supreme Court. The fourth main news is about care economy. Care economy is actually a very crucial form of a set of activities which are often invisible yet very important. So how to give a push to care economy which will add to India's GDP. At the same time, it will also make the women of India employable, taking into consideration their existing qualifications. Last main news is about cotton productivity mission. So the name is very suggestive. Now quick updates. New semiconductor units approved in Gujarat. Okay, so that is as per the India semiconductor mission 2.0. The second quick update is about Vadinar ship repair facility. So India's ship repairing sector is not that strong. So this is going to give a strong push, and again it's in Gujarat. The third quick update is about global debate over ecocide law. Due to the wars, be it the Ukraine-Russia war or the Middle East crisis, environment is ultimately suffering. Of course, the death tolls are rising, but there is no particular law or international legal framework to protect environment resulting from such wars. So that is a very important piece of news. Next, thorium fuel test, which has been successfully completed in the US at the lab level. So most of the countries use uranium, but thorium is a more sustainable fuel and it can be used as a less waste generating fuel. India's 3-year nuclear stage program is also focuses on thorium. Now, fifth quick update, Indian journalists have won the honorable or respectable Pulitzer recognition. It's a huge honor. Okay, and 2 Indian journalists have won it. We'll cover what was the theme of the project or journalism. Next, rare caracals spotted in Thar. Caracals are wildcats. These are protected species under Wildlife Protection Act. Next, National Stock Exchange has launched electronic gold receipts. Next quick update is about the expansion of methane alert system by the United Nations. So not just methane coming from oil and gas fields will be covered, but also coal fields and landfills. Next, microplastics found in Bhitarkanika National Park in Odisha. And last quick update is about India is among the top migration corridors, be it India to UAE or India to US. So let's start with the first main news, which is the increase in the strength of the Supreme Court judges, which is very important, I must say. So as you know, there are several challenges which the Indian judiciary currently faces, and the most important or the most concerning of all the challenges is the large number of pending cases. So combined higher judiciary, lower judiciary, if we combine the number of cases that are piling up in front of the Indian judges, so the number rises to crores, early crores. Okay, it depends upon various sources, and in higher judiciary it's in late lakhs. That means we need more number of judges. So this increase, which has been proposed by a bill approved by the Union Cabinet, it aims to increase the number of judges from 33 to 37, excluding the CGI. So the current strength of the judges of the Supreme Court is 33 plus 1. When the bill is passed, it will become 37 plus 1. Okay, 1 is CGI. CGI is also one of the Pune judges, but whenever we calculate, we always separate it. This is as per the Indian Constitution. The original Constitution had the provision of once, of course, the CJI, that is 1 CJI plus 7 judges. Now gradually through amendments, we have raised the number, we have been raising it, and now we're aiming at increasing it to 37. Okay. So let's go through the various provisions. This is very important from the point of view of GS prelims, I would say. GS paper 2, of course, a static question can be asked. Okay. Do you think increasing the number of judges is a good measure to get rid of the present challenge of increasing number of cases? Okay. Or this is a very, just a sample question. The question can center around the functioning of the Indian judiciary, okay, the functioning of the Indian judges, High Court judges, Supreme Court judges, okay. So, but it's more important from the point of view of prelims because it's very factual in nature. And of course, which body has the power to increase the sanction strength of the Supreme Court? It's the Parliament. But in the case of High Court, it's not the Parliament, it's the President. Okay, so it's a difference that you need to remember. Parliament has the power to increase the strength of the Supreme Court judges. Okay, but for High Court, it is not the Parliament, it is the President. Please remember, it's very crucial. And currently there are, I think, some 1100 judges across the different High Courts in India. Okay. So current strength, as I said, is 33 plus 1 CGI, and the target strength is 37. Okay. And the name of the act, you don't need to remember, the Supreme Court Number of Judges Act 1956. That was the first amendment. Now it is the Supreme Court Number of Judges Amendment Bill 2026. It has been proposed, not yet passed. So reasons, of course, the most important reason is increasing the number of judges will allow Supreme Court to function more efficiently. Of course, the cases will be distributed, or the weight will be distributed among the 4 new judges. Other essential facts which you need to remember, don't need to remember the timeline as to how the number rose from 7 to 33 and further going to increase to 37. But still a cursory glance is enough. So original constitution 7 plus 1 CGI, I mentioned in the beginning. Then it was 10, 1956 Act, first amendment act to increase the strength. Then 1960, 77, 86, 2008, last was in 2019. Okay, and the 19 Act increased the strength from 30 to 33. So what are the various criteria for a citizen of India to be appointed as a Supreme Court judge? Appointment is done by the President of India, as you know, under Article 124(2), and as per the collegium system, which evolved as per the different judges' cases. Retirement age is 65 years. For High Court, it's 62. Qualifications are prescribed under Article 124, but sub-Article 3. And citizen of India, it's the first important criterion. And a judge of High Court for 5+ years, or this is a mandatory criteria. Either this or an advocate of HC for 10 years. Or if these 2 criteria are not met, then he should be a distinguished jurist in the opinion of the President. It is very important to mention, in the opinion of the President of India, because it's a very subjective thing. Who can be called a distinguished jurist? If I say he is a distinguished jurist according to me, is that person eligible? No. In the opinion of the President of India. Of course, backed by the Union Cabinet. So first is citizen of India. It's of prime importance. Without it, no person can become a Supreme Court judge. And then either of the 3, High Court judge होना चाहिए, advocate या फिर distinguished jurist. इनमें से कोई एक भी अगर meet हो गया, that person is eligible to become a Supreme Court judge. Removal. Sometimes the news channels use the word impeachment for the removal of a Supreme Court or High Court judge. But impeachment is only used for the President of India. Okay. Under Article 24(4), 2 grounds only: misbehavior and incapacity. Only 2 grounds. Okay. So now I think you are in a position to answer this question. Very easy question. The strength of judges in the Supreme Court can be increased by Parliament. The strength of judges in the High Courts can be increased by the President. Both the statements are correct. Okay. Next important piece of news, which is mission for cotton productivity. So Indian cotton has some demand in the world market. India is a exporter of India is an exporter of apparel, but India is competing or having a tough competition from many countries in Southeast Asia, also Bangladesh and also Turkey. So you can see many foreign brands are written made in India, or made in Cambodia. Okay, that means Indian labor is used, but India can boost its own export market. That means everything starting from the cotton crop to fiber, okay, to how it is fashioned, that means production of apparel, and then final export to different countries of the world. So India is working on this chain, the entire chain related to cotton. For that, first of all, we need to improve our productivity, okay, the farming or cultivation part. So this mission aims at increasing the productivity of cotton. And as you know, productivity in agriculture is actually measured as production plus area, hectare. Because production can be anything. I say we produced 100 kgs of a particular material. The next question will be, how much land did you use? That means smaller the size of the pieces of land, higher becomes the productivity for the same amount of products produced. Okay, that means you have the potential to use the available land in an efficient manner. That is what this mission is targeting. So that means it is not just going to increase the productivity of Indian cotton, but also targeting the Indian export sector as regards the textile sector. Okay, so boosting the export potential of the Indian market. So far companies have been using only Indian labor, okay, because Indian labor is very cheap. So why not to make the most of it? We can produce our own products. Cabinet approved, and it supports the 5F textile vision, which was introduced I think 2 years ago in the union budget. So it starts from farm to fiber to factory to fashion to foreign. Okay, this is the expansion. You may remember it, you may skip it. Farm means production, fiber after removing the seeds and forming yarns, then factory, okay, producing fabric, then apparel, that means producing clothes, garments, then exporting the same. Aims improving cotton productivity nationwide, addresses yield stagnation and quality concerns. That means Indian cotton has been blamed for two things. One is the production, very low productivity, and the second is quality. If you compare Indian cotton with American or Egyptian cotton, Egyptian cotton is very famous. Okay, mission period is 5 years, 2026 to 31, and total outlay is close to 6,000 crore. And this amount will be spent on research and development, okay, boosting the production potential of the farmers. Jointly implemented by two ministries, of course, Textile and Ministry of Agriculture. Targets major increase in lint productivity. What is lint? Lint in the case of cotton is, after you remove the seeds from those small cotton balls, whatever is left is called lint. Cotton without seeds. Okay, so these are the different stages of production of fiber. Productivity target raised to 755 kg per hectare. The current is 440. So it's a very ambitious target, nearly double, okay, or slightly less than double. 80% increase at least we are aiming at. Let's see how far we how we're going to fare in the future. And cotton production target is 498 lakh bales. Now bale is a measure used in the case of cotton. One bale is approximately 220 kgs. So you can calculate how much we are targeting. Again, it is 300 to 500. Okay, nearly 60% increase. Targets to be achieved by 2030-31. So you have to memorize these two figures, productivity and cotton production in terms of bales and hectare, and the target year is 2030-31. Prelims में बन सकता है कि कौन से ministries involved है. It is jointly implemented by Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare and Ministry of Textiles. Cotton cultivation in India requires a hot, sunny and arid to semi-arid climate. A question was asked in the UPSC prelims also, okay, 4 or 5 years ago. Typically grown as a kharif crop. Optimal conditions include temperatures below 20, between 21 to 30. ज़्यादा गर्मी भी नहीं है, ठंड भी नहीं होना चाहिए. And we need frost-free days, okay. 200 plus, in a NCERT books it's mentioned 210. So the moment you see this figure, you'll understand the crop is cotton. It thrives best in well-drained, nutrient-rich black soil, largely in the central and southern regions. Let's go through the question. It was a very easy question. The crop is subtropical in nature. A hard frost is injurious to it. It requires at least 200 frost-free days. Okay, the moment you see this, that means cotton. And subtropical. Jute is tropical in nature. Sugarcane, tropical, subtropical both. And tea also both. Depends on hilly tracts and well-drained soils. So the answer is cotton. Next, emergency credit line guarantee scheme 5.0. I don't think it's that important a piece of news, but what makes it important is just few days ago, the Indian airlines, airline like service providers starting from Indigo, SpiceJet, they approached the government. They expressed their concern that there's a fair chance they may have to shut down their operations. Why? Because of the rising input costs and because of the Middle East crisis. Okay, there is the oil tankers, their oil ships, they're taking different routes, which is adding cost to their logistics. And also the insurance prices have risen. Okay, all the companies, they have insurance, and the premium they have to pay now is high because vulnerability has increased. So all these input costs and also a drop in the number of passengers. So that is why they approach the government. But this is primarily for the MSME sector. Airlines is not MSME, but airline is the only non-MSME sector which is covered under this Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme 5.0. MSME plus airline. I think it may be updated later, but so far as I could find, it's airlines. Okay, there are certain targets or some earmarked for the airlines and MSMEs. On the whole, it's mostly for MSMEs, starting from leather industries, okay, handicrafts. Their production has also been affected. Now, for operational costs, that means paying for paying the employees their salaries, electricity bills. Even these companies do not have enough money, enough funds. So how will they operate? Many of them may shut down. That is why the scheme has been launched. The 1.0 scheme, as you can see, is the 5th version. The first emergency credit line guarantee scheme was launched during the COVID-19 crisis in 2020 as a part of Atmanirbharta Abhiyan. Okay. So now it's the 5th version. And what happens under the scheme? The government is not going to give you credit. The government has created it is prompting many NBFCs and banks to give loans to these companies. If the companies, they default on loan payment, the losses will be compensated by a government company. In the case of MSMEs, it's 100% compensation if the MSMEs are not able to pay back. In the case of airlines, it's 90% will be recovered. Okay, 10% will be lost by the companies. So, but airlines, the probability of making losses by the airlines is lower than that of the MSMEs. Okay, these are big companies, they have better plans, more professionals involved. So recent context, Union Cabinet has recently approved ECLGS 5.0 scheme. ECLGS launched during COVID-19 crisis, announced under Atmanirbhar Bharat package, that means self-sufficiency package. Okay, to provide support to the domestic industries. Scheme supports businesses facing financial stress linked to the ongoing West Asia crisis, targets MSMEs, airlines and other sectors. Mostly this. See, airlines has been specifically mentioned. Aims easing short-term liquidity mismatches. Short-term liquidity mismatches means cash crunch. You don't have enough cash. If you don't have cash, how will you pay for your day-to-day needs? Okay, short-term needs. Liquidity means availability of ready cash. So NCGTC, this is the body, a trustee, which has been created by the company, which will look after the NBFCs and other banking companies, which are going to lend loans. Okay, National Credit Guarantee Trustee Company, something like that. National Credit Guarantee Trustee Company, yes. Scheme under Department of Financial Services. So DFS functions Finance Ministry. So now try to understand, the scheme is implemented by Department of Financial Services, which comes under Ministry of Finance. And as a part of the scheme, a body has been created, this trustee company, which is going to implement it. That means if the NBFCs start to experience loss because the MSMEs are not in a position to pay back the loan, this scheme is all about, all about compensating those NBFCs and banks which are going to experience losses. So government is saying, please don't hesitate to give them loans. In case they fail, we are there. That is the crux of the entire scheme. MSMEs receive 100% guarantee coverage. Non-MSMEs receive 90% guarantee. Non-MSME यहाँ पे airline. Maybe some other sectors are involved, but primarily airline. And just a week ago or 10 days ago, the airlines, they made it very clear that some of them may have to shut down their operations. Okay. And for airline, the maximum borrowing limit is 1500 crore rupees. Okay. Eligible borrowers need standard loan accounts. Some criteria are there you have to meet. MSME loans have 5-year tenure. That means in 5 years you have to pay back the amount. Non-MSME have also 5-year. Only airlines have 7-year tenure, because airlines are big companies. The loan amount is also per airline 1500 crore. It's a big sum. Okay. As compared to the other, I think it's 500 for them. And airlines have 2-year moratorium, while MSMEs have 1 year. That means for after receiving the loan, you don't have to pay the loan. So that period is called moratorium. For airlines, that period of non-payment is 2 saal. After receiving the loan, they don't have to pay anything for 2 years, because they're going to make profit, and then when they become capable or capable enough to pay back the loan, they will pay. And for MSMEs, it is 1 year. So that's it. What questions can you expect? I would suggest you may expect a question related to aviation sector in India. Okay, the domestic aviation sector is doing really well. Okay, now we are just behind China and US. We have surpassed Brazil, Indonesia, and all the developing countries. But there are many challenges with the aviation sector face. So a question can be, you can say, although this scheme ke related question to aa sakta hai, while what measures have been taken by the government to boost the MSME sector. Okay. Under that, you can talk about this credit scheme. Okay. But a question, dedicated question can be asked about aviation sector, especially about the Indigo crisis. Okay. And of course, that was a logistical crisis, but here it's a crisis related to their operational capability. Okay. So you can expect question related to aviation sector or what the government is doing to boost the MSME sector. और इसमें कुछ पूछने लायक है नहीं. If UPSC asks in the prelims exam, they may ask you about कि this scheme is only for the MSMEs. Statement is wrong, because airlines and some other non-MSME sectors are also involved. And regarding the amount to be amount that has been earmarked for airline sector or MSME sector, I don't think that is important. Okay. Moratorium period ये भी हो सकता है. Try to don't just focus upon this particular news. If you have the capacity, go through. Otherwise, this time it's not going to appear in the prelims exam. It's already the month of May. In mains, you can expect maybe. Public interest litigation, PIL. So the Supreme Court is again disappointed as regards fake or frivolous PILs, public interest litigation. In the name of PIL or in the name of public interest, many people are filing unwanted or useless PIL. That is what the Supreme Court has said. And to the extent of expanding the abbreviation, the real abbreviation is public interest litigation. Okay. So Supreme Court is saying people have made PIL politically or political interest litigation or private interest litigation. That means these are not genuine PILs. That is what the whole news is all about. So of course, a question to banta hi hai. I think 2024 mein bhi UPSC asked a question on PIL. You can see. Okay, question 2024 mein there was a question. I forgot to add it here. Mains question. But prelims mein bhi you can expect a question like what led to the innovation or implementation of PIL in India. Okay, which is the two important personalities behind it. That is what we're going to discuss it, and the recent context, as you said, is the frivolous PILs or baseless or unfounded PILs. Supreme Court of India has recently expressed strong disapproval of the increasing misuse of public interest litigation. So PIL hota kya hai? For example, there is this genuine concept in what you can say in law, which is called locus standi. Locus standi ये बोलता है locus standi. As per this concept, only those people who are affected can approach the court. That means I have to be a stakeholder. If a crime has been committed or crimes are being committed, and if I am affected, then as per locus standi, only I am or other stakeholders are allowed to approach the court. But PIL, as per the PIL, this concept which was innovated in the US in the 1960s and 80s, that for public interest, even somebody who is not involved, he or she can also approach. Not for murder. Murder to by default uska recognition ho hi jata hai. Okay, so that is a crime against the state. But I am talking about some environmental issues or some generic issues, domestic violence, okay, or say sexual harassment of women, Vishaka guidelines, okay. These were all possible because of PIL, the system of PIL. That means I can see my society being affected, and as a concerned or an aware member of the society, I am approaching the court, and I want the intervention of the court in this regard or in this matter. That is what PIL says, which is totally opposite of locus standi. Locus standi bolte you can approach the court only when you are the party which is affected. PIL can be filed by any individual or organization in the public interest, even if they are not personally affected. Yahi hai uska gist. Okay. For example, remember the name of MC Mehta. There are so many cases, and this gentleman, he approached the court, and the court gave many directions on the basis of his complaints regarding environmental deterioration or degradation. It means a case or petition filed before a court to protect or safeguard or enforce public interest. Okay. It can be filed only in the Supreme Court and High Courts. आप district courts में नहीं कर सकते. That means only higher judiciary you can approach, as per Article 22. ठीक है? And Article 226, which talk about writs or constitutional protection of the fundamental rights. For example, you can approach the government by saying that Article 21, which is of prime importance, right to life and personal liberty, environmental damage is hampering the lives of the individuals. So that comes under Article 21, and which is protected under Article 32. You can approach the Supreme Court directly. The concept of public interest litigation originated in the US in the 1960s. In India, Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer and Justice P.N. Bhagwati. So Iyer and Bhagwati, you need to remember these two names if ever asked in the prelims exam, or you can also add it as one of the points in the mains exam. Were the pioneers of the concept of PIL in the 1980. Okay? This much is enough, nothing else. The context is misuse of PIL, but here we are focusing on PIL. And as you know, nobody is going to ask you why so many fake PILs are being filed. Politically motivated, it may be frivolous. Okay, there is so much freedom because anybody can be involved in any public issue. Care economy, another important concept, which is more important from the point of view of mains, GS paper 3. Or maybe they can ask you what is purple economy, which is closely related to care economy. Okay, care economy refers to all those paid and unpaid activities or tasks performed by not just women for the care or looking after of different people, starting from the elderly, children. Okay, so it can be paid and unpaid. Most of the Indian mothers, they spend their time in nurturing their children. That is part of care economy. Nurses in the hospitals or dispensaries, whatever they do, they are paid for that. Okay, serving people, that also falls under care economy. So it can be paid and unpaid. So this story is related to giving boost to care economy. So let's start with a very simple example. There are many qualified or educated mothers who are spending their time nurturing their children, looking after their other members of the family. They're qualified, they're educated, but they're not contributing to the economy because their work is not recognized. It does not form the part of the national income or the GDP. Now, if we have this new emerging concept in India, it's already prevalent in the West, called babysitting. Okay. let's say there is a family of 3, a husband, wife, okay, and a child. Now this wife is well qualified. She is employable, but she is not looking for employment because she is looking after a family. Now, if she decides to join a job after maybe when the baby is old enough, okay, now somebody is required to look after the baby, so she can hire a babysitter. At the same time, she is also employed. While sitting idle, you just realized that there was potential employment which was not used. The moment she decided to work, she got herself employed. At the same time, there was a babysitter which was ready or tasked with the responsibilities of the child. That means 2 people are employed now. So this is the potential of care economy. It can be monetized, easily monetized. So mother, she can be relieved from work, and babysitting, professional care economy, professionals, okay, or care professionals, they can be employed. So babysitting is an emerging concept in cities, not very popular in towns or villages, okay, because villages, the social bond is very strong. So this is what a report presented by a very draft report, you can say, prepared by the economic advisor to the Prime Minister. And recently Honorable Prime Minister also talked about the potential of care economy, okay, how it can add value to the Indian economy. So let's go through the key points. Recent context, as I said, the paper advocates paradigm shift in caregiving, care viewed as economic infrastructure sector, not merely private household responsibility. Okay, see, it should not be limited, because we have popularized this concept that care economy is often unpaid or cannot be monetized. But it has the potential to be monetized, and it's good for the economy because many people are going to get employment. And quality care can also be provided. It will also free the Indian mothers who are qualified enough to get employed. That will add to their household income. At the same time, it will add to India's GDP. Unpaid care valued 15 to 17% of GDP. Okay, that means this is the potential. It is believed that a woman spends nearly 5 hours for care economy related tasks, while a male spends less than 1.5 hours. So these 5 hours can be transferred to care professionals. The union budget also focuses upon training professionals related to care economy. Okay. It includes paid and unpaid care activities, supports children, elderly, and PWD's welfare. Okay, because they all need help, and the help can be provided not by machines, by human beings. PWDs means persons with disabilities. Unpaid care work largely performed by women. So it is also going to generate employment potential for women. Even most of the babysitters you can see, they're women, okay, because they can easily develop bonds with children. So it can unlock tremendous potential for Indian women. Next, proposed Parivar Seva Kosh initiative, a fund to boost care economy. Fund supports community-based care infrastructure. That means, for example, not everyone can afford a babysitter. So maybe a society where many middle class people are staying, they can create a creche-like facility where only they will hire particular individual, and they can use also transparent walls to look after the babies, or they can install CCTV cameras. Okay, so whatever the case may be, many people can be employed. They can pool money and hire a professional, or the government can provide such infrastructure. Carepreneur Fund, which is Care Plus Entrepreneur Fund, proposed for entrepreneurs. So they can also, startups which are focusing on these things, they can also get money if the ideas are viable and profitable. Concessional finance suggested for care business, encourage public-private partnerships for care sector. That means if people are ready to pay, then why not use it as one of the vehicle of the economy? It can be monetized. Economic opportunity, investing 2% of GDP can create 11 million jobs. So you can see the domino effect. Just by investing 2% of GDP, 11 million jobs will be generated, and these people who are generated, they will also, because of their consumption, the growth of the economy will be boosted. And majorly women. India needs 31 to 38 million formal care workers by 2050, because by 2050 there will be nearly 25% of elderly people. So India will be slightly or gradually graying. Okay, that means elderly people will need some looking after. They have to be taken care of. For that, we can have care professionals. That's the last main news. Now let's go through the quick updates. First is the India Semiconductor Mission. The first version, or ISM 1.0, was launched in 2021, which focused upon assembling things which we import from other countries, the Far East. Now ISM 2.0 is focusing upon not just assembling or dicing, but also making chips. India is not one of the world's prominent chip makers. We don't use wafers and we create integrated circuits. We borrow the circuits, we assemble everything here. We have discussed this earlier also, from Taiwan, from the Far East, okay, China. But now we are focusing on creating chips. Everything from the front end and back end of electronic sector. That means starting from making chips to designing the electronic circuits and then assembling. Everything will be, and you also need machine coding and everything. The electronics people must be knowing well. So these things have to be, these things are focused upon under ISM 2.0, the updated version of ISM 1.0, which is launched in 2021. Now it's 2026. Okay. Cabinet approved 2 semiconductor units in Gujarat, and in Gujarat they will be focusing on gallium nitride, not silicon. Gallium nitride is actually another semiconductor material which has a wider band gap. Okay, that means it can give you improved performance as compared to silicon. Around 2,230 skilled jobs are expected, and this is a part of the ISM 2.0. Total investment is close to 4,000 crore. You don't need to remember the figures, or you can simply write, it will generate employment if it's asked in the mains exam. And ISM 2.0, how is it different from ISM 1.0? We are also going to take care of both the front end and the back end and advanced chips, because now we also have an India AI mission. We are also focusing on GPUs, okay, manufacturing chips which are essential for AI infrastructure. Ship repair facility again in Gujarat, in Vadinar. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Ship repair facility approved at Vadinar, Gujarat. See, India has a long coastline. 90% of the goods are shipped by volume. I'm talking about 90% of the trade takes place through ships. Now imagine a ship coming from a faraway place, and all the goods that India requires are unloaded. Now the captain of the ship or the crew feels that the ship is not functioning well. It needs some repair. Now India will say, okay, we don't have enough repairing facilities. You can go to any of the nearby countries. That way India suffered some economic loss, because by providing repair facility we could have gained. That would have added to India's GDP. And it is also very ironic that we import goods, we export goods, but the vessels which get docked near the Indian coastline, they cannot get repaired due to lack of repair facility. Okay, so now one such facility has been, there are very few, and we are not dealing with large ships also. Maximum 300 meters agar lamba hai ship we can do, and that too in a limited manner. If the ships are very large, we cannot repair. We simply say, please go to any nearby country, and they go to UAE, China, Singapore. Okay, so see, these countries are have advanced facilities for ship repair. Okay, so now you understood what is the aim of this facility. Is the first such facility in Gujarat, which is aiming at currently up to 300. It can also repair 300 plus meter ships. Expected to create these many jobs, again just like the previous scheme. And it is handled by Deen Dayal Port Authority, which is based in Kandla, and Kochi Shipyard Limited. Okay, so if a question comes, now the prelims is already there. So ship sector or shipping sector, what are the steps taken by the government? You can cite it as one of the examples, which is also part of blue economy. Ecocide. Ecocide means severe ecosystem destruction by humans. No standalone international crime of ecocide exists. So the recent context is Russia-Ukraine war, which has been taking place, it's been over 4 years and the war is continuing. Okay, we have not reached any conclusive end. And the Middle East crisis. Human beings are suffering directly, and they're also indirectly suffering because of the environmental damage caused by the wars. And there are no particular conventions. For example, there are war conventions called Geneva Conventions. But this is only related to how the countries deal with each other and their soldiers during the fight or the war. We don't have environmental conventions like, say, Basel Convention or say Rotterdam Convention. When environmental damage is taking place, which is called ecocide, eco means ecology, ecosystem or environment, and side means death. Okay. So we don't have any convention or international legal framework to deal with this. That's it. ICC currently covers limited wartime environmental damage. Okay. Again, this is an extension of the ICC, International Criminal Court, but it is not its primary aim. There is no legal framework. Thorium fuel irradiation. So this is the first time they have successfully shown that thorium can be used as a nuclear fuel. So irradiation means thorium, some amount of thorium, a special fuel which is called anil, okay, some advanced nuclear enrichment energy, something like that, which is a combination of very low dose uranium taken in high concentration, okay, which is called HALEU, this, plus thorium. They were placed in a nuclear reactor and exposed. The scientists wanted to know, let's apply enough heat. Is this fuel explosive, or it's able to bear that high temperature and performing well? And surprisingly, it performed well. That means now thorium can be thought of as a potential fuel. It is not going to cause any explosion or blast. Okay. So as you know, India has a 3-stage nuclear program, and the 3rd stage is thorium based. And thorium is a much cleaner fuel than uranium, which is used worldwide. Everywhere people use uranium to generate heat to ultimately produce electricity. The same procedure, heat to move turbines, the steam will move the turbines, and that will result in the generation of electricity. Okay, so the worldwide used fuel is uranium. Now thorium is much more abundant as compared to uranium. India has monazite, and the entire east coast is full of monazite, which is present in the sands, and that contains thorium. Okay, so of course it's not going to happen tomorrow or the day after. It will take some time, but now we can see some amount of promise. The clean core tested thorium based anil fuel. Okay, as I said, it's a combination of uranium, HALEU and thorium. Testing conducted at IDIO National Laboratory. It's a state of the United States, if I'm not wrong. Fuel achieved high burn up successfully. That means it burned for a long period of time and provided energy. High burn up, which is a good thing. It combines thorium with HALEU, which is highly acid, low enriched uranium. That is the expansion. Okay, thorium produces lower long-lived radioactive waste. That means it's more abundant than uranium. What are the better properties? More abundant than uranium. We're talking about thorium. More efficient and less radioactive waste. Next, Indian journalist received Pulitzer Prize. It's equivalent to the Man Booker Prize or the Booker Prize. Okay, but it's given by the United States, I think Columbia University, and in the fields of journalism, literature. In the Man Booker Prize is limited to fiction. Okay, and that too written in English language. Now they are also accepting translated works, but Pulitzer Prize is very prestigious in the US. Okay, so 2 Indian journalists, Anand RK and Suparna Sharma, they have won the prize for their illustrated reporting. That means very detailed and nice examples maybe. So it's actually here it means detailed, very detailed and in a very graphic and clear manner. Trapped. So trapped, this art of, or whatever you can, piece of journalism, it focused upon cyber fraud. financial crimes. Okay, administered by Columbia University. That is what the Pulitzer Prize is all about, and regarded as one of the highest honors in journalism, literature, and music composition also. So it was established in 1917 by Joseph Pulitzer, who himself was a journalist during the First World War. Caracal, which is wildcat, a type of wildcat found in the South Asian countries, especially India, Pakistan. So it's a very rare sighting. Normally it is not found. It was reported in Thar Desert, and it's identified near India-Pakistan border region. Caracal known for black-eared tufts, very long ears. Like for example, this is the face, very long eared. Okay, so this is how the wildcat looks. Adapted to arid and semi-arid habitats, and it is protected under Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act, the highest form of protection awarded. So all you need to know is that caracal is wildcat, and it is protected under Wildlife Protection Act Schedule 1. NSE launches electronic gold receipts, National Stock Exchange, one where you can trade securities, okay, buy and sell stocks. Now, as you all know, so Indians are very crazy for and about gold, physical gold. Okay, they buy gold to use it in the form of jewelry or just for the investment purpose. Now, what are the challenges? One is storing, one is concern about purity, theft, okay, then also maintenance. Even if you put in bank and all that, they will charge high maintenance fees, and that is also not secure. Recently, in an SBI branch, somebody's locker was stolen. It was shown unavailable. So there are many challenges. Okay, so now you can store your gold in demat form. Just a piece of paper will represent your physical gold, and that can be traded also. So EGRs are demat securities, represent gold stored in vaults, traded electronically like securities. So depending upon speculation, just like you stocks, for example, you have a share in the company that is not physically visible. You're just basically dealing with stocks in an invisible or intangible manner. This is basically intangible gold, and it has been released by NSE. Now there is a emerging concept of digital gold also. You don't need to buy gold. You can visit the website of a certain jewelry company, and it is affiliated to one of the standards maintaining body. You can buy digital gold. Don't have to buy gold, and you can sell it freely also. It's a similar or related concept, but it cannot be traded. This thing is traded because it's by NSE. Methane alert system expanded to coal and waste sectors. So methane alert center means a collection of satellites is actually focusing on methane emission, and it is backed by United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. It's called MARS, Methane Alert and Response System. So the satellites use satellite imagery to see which all oil and gas fields are ready or steady sources of methane. Methane is a greenhouse gas and is much more potent than carbon dioxide, the second most abundant greenhouse gas. Okay, although short-lived, but it's very dangerous. It's short-lived because it cannot stay in the atmosphere for long. After reacting with oxygen, it becomes H2 and CO2. So ultimately it becomes CO2. So far the satellites were capturing methane coming from oil and gas fields. Now they are also going to study the coal fields and landfills, that means waste deposition sites, and that was because they detected methane in Ghazipur landfill. गाजीपुर जो दिल्ली में जो सबसे बड़ा लैंडफिल है, वहाँ से detected methane. So now we have opened their eyes. It's possible that landfills can generate methane, and same applies to coal field also, because methane is a hydrocarbon. It's a gas, but it's a hydrocarbon. If it can come from oil fields, there is a fair chance that it will come from, and it does come from, coal fields also. So they have expanded it. Delhi's Ghazipur landfill flagged among top emitters. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas, nearly 30 times more powerful than CO2 if we are talking about less than 20 years. Long term में or sorry, if you're talking about 100 years. Short term it is even more potent. Microplastics in Odisha's Bhitarkanika ecosystem. Microplastics are those plastic materials which are less than 5 millimeter in size, diameter. And Bhitarkanika is in one of the two national parks in Odisha. One is your Simlipal and the second is Bhitarkanika National Park. Okay, so Bhitarkanika is also the second largest mangrove forest in India. The first one is of course Sundarbans. Okay, so one of the two national parks and the second largest mangrove forest, and very famous for housing saltwater crocodiles. So microplastics are found because of unregulated tourism, must be, okay, or maybe because of the rivers. Mangroves are found near the confluence of rivers and seas, okay, Bay of Bengal. So found in water, sediment and aquatic organisms also. That means it's going to enter the food chain and affect living organisms. Bhitarkanika is world's second largest mangrove for India's second largest mangrove forest, famous for the massive saltwater crocodiles. It is also a national park. Migration corridor, I think this is the last quick update. So as per the International Organization for Migration, which is a United Nations agency, and it releases the migration report every year. So 2026, it has been recently released as per the Hindu, and it has shown that one of the top 10 migration routes, that means where people move from one source country to destination, the top 2 India related migration routes are India, UAE, okay, from many Indians are settled there because they're working, and India, US. These are one of the top, these two are the top 10 or among the top 10 migration routes. Migration routes hote kya basically, just like animals migrate. This animal migration is actually an environmental concept. Human migration or migration route is a human geography concept. That means it traces the movement of human beings from where maximum people come and to which country they migrate the most. Okay. So India UA and India US, proportion of international migration as a share of the total global population has increased. Okay, but only incrementally 2.9% to 3.7%. 1990 mein, out of every 100 people, close to 2.9% or 3 people used to migrate. Now it's 3.7. So you may say the percentage wise it's not that big, but if you look at the absolute numbers, it's huge. Because in 1990 the population was how much? Maybe some 4 or 5 billions or 6 billions maximum. Now it has crossed, it's close to 10 billions. Okay, so 3.7% of 10 billions is much more than 2.9%. Okay, so India US among top 10 migration corridors. Around 3.2 million Indians or 32 lakh Indian migrants were living in the US in 2024. Okay, so this actually talks a lot about the Indian diaspora. Okay, how rich it is and how diverse it is, starting from the Middle East to the West. I think we have covered all the news items, so try to make the most of the digital current affairs of Vision IAS, and wish you all the very best for your prelims exam.